Okay, we're going back today and we're going to look at a couple of early progressive schools that I believe predated, well, certainly predated this core,
Common Core.
Common Core, or caramel apple core, rotten core, whatever you call
Rotten
it.
Core. I call
Rotten
it
core.
Rotten Core.
Yeah, these were the original places back when the early progressives that came out of the League of Nations time. When the government and the progressive people knew better than anybody else.
hmm
Well, one of the earliest ones that I read about as an educator was Summerhill. So you found something online on that you want to read?
Yeah. I found Summerhill's School. Summerhillschool.co.uk. Summerhill, founded in 1921, still ahead of its time. Co-educational boarding school in Suffolk, England. The original alternative free school. Founded in 1921, it continues to be an influential model for progressive democratic education around the world. Summerhill is the oldest children's democracy in the world. It is probably the most famous alternative or free school. The system that Summerhill employs is not only about education, it is also a different way of parenting which eliminates most of the friction and many of the problems experienced by modern families. There's a quote by Zoe Neal Reedhead,
Mm-hmm.
principal of Summerhill.
Okay, read that.
Okay. Summerhill is a real place, not a utopia. Living in a community of around 100 people is not always easy. Everybody is learning about themselves, and on a bleak January day, with the east wind blowing, things are sometimes not wonderful. But Summerhill in summertime is lush green and not unlike Never Land. It is more of a family or tribe than a school, full of companionship, laughter, and real feelings. Real feelings, effective. Not effective, effective.
Mm-hmm.
More to do with emotions than logic and reason than feelings.
Got more?
That's it on the home page. There's links. There's about Summerhill, a brief overview of Summerhill.
Hit the brief overview. Let's take a
Okay.
look at what they have posted. Remember that they posted this,
Yeah.
not the critics. Okay.
Yeah. All crimes, all hatreds, all wars can be reduced to unhappiness, wrote A.S. Neal, founder of Summerhill School. Today, all around the world, education is moving towards more and more testing, more examinations, and more qualifications. It seems to be a modern trend that assessment and qualification define education. If society were to treat any other group of people the way it treats its children, it would be considered a violation of human rights. But for most of the world's children, this is the normal expectation from parents, school, and the society in which we live. Many educationalists and families are becoming uneasy with this restrictive environment. They are beginning to look for alternative answers to mainstream schooling. One of these answers is democratic or free schooling. There are many models of democratic schools in all corners of the globe, from Israel to Japan, from New Zealand to Thailand to the United States. The oldest and most famous of these schools is Summerhill, on the east coast of England. Summerhill School was founded in 1921 at a time when the rights of individuals were less respected than they are today. Children were beaten in most homes at some time or another, and discipline was the key word in child rearing. Through its self government and freedom, it has struggled for more than 80 years against pressures to conform in order to give children the right to decide for themselves. The school is now a thriving democratic community, showing that children learn to be self confident, tolerant, and considerate when they are given space to be themselves. Summerhill School is one of the most famous schools in the world and has influenced educational practice in many schools and universities. The democratic schools movement is now blossoming internationally, with many schools far and wide being based upon the philosophy of A.S. Neal or inspired by reading his books. Summerhill is a community of around 100 people. About 75 of these children are aged between 5 and 17. The rest are teachers, house parents, and other staff. It is situated in a large, much loved Victorian house and grounds 2 miles from the east coast of Suffolk. Most of the children board during the term time, though there are day pupils as well. As the younger ones grow older, they usually prefer to sleep at school. Summerhill is co-educational and enjoys the diversity of pupils from throughout the world. There is a wide choice of subjects, up to GCSE level. A new timetable is created each term when the older children have signed up for classes, though there is no compulsion to attend. As well as the structured timetable, there is free access to art, woodwork, and computers. There are also open areas where pupils not in classes can hang out, amuse themselves, socialize, play games, and be creative, etc. Adults are not there to create things for the children to do. They need to create things for themselves. Sports, games, and other amusements are all generated by the pupils and adults according to need. The staff meet regularly to discuss any problems or concerns. A special attention list monitors new children and those who may have problems relating to learning. Staff will consider various actions to assist the child in. For example, if a child is nervous of the classroom, one-to-one lessons can be offered. This is the case for fast or slow learners. Pupils can take exams early if they wish, and most pupils take some GCSEs before they leave, but of course they have the option not to take any at all. The important freedom at Summerhill is the right to play. All lessons are optional. There is no pressure to conform to adult ideas of growing up, though the community itself has expectations of reasonable conduct from all individuals. Bullying, vandalism, or other social behavior is dealt with on the spot by specially elected ombudsmen or can be brought to the whole community in its regular meetings. The school is set in 12 acres of garden and woodland with plenty of space for cycling, hut building, tree climbing, bonfires, camping, imaginative games. There is a swimming pool for use in the summertime, a tennis court, playing field, basketball area, as well as table tennis indoors. During the winter and spring, there is a social committee elected by the community to organize games and activities in the afternoons and evenings. These include capture the flag, word games, board games, spontaneous acting, storytelling, cinema trips, etc. Summerhill is a happy and caring community that recognizes the importance of expressing emotions and learning through feelings. There is a general openness and honesty among the community members. Staff do not use adult authority to impose values and solve problems. These are solved by the individual with the help of friends or ombudsman or by the community in meetings. The school has an outreach program with its own external affairs committee of pupils who regularly take part in conferences, children's rights programs, workshops in schools and colleges, etc. As well as this, the school endeavors to allow as many people as possible to visit and see the unique system in action. That's it.
Okay. Um, This is in England,
Yeah.
and they talk about the curriculum. They have no curriculum. It's designed by the children.
Yeah.
Okay. I would, on one side, take a look at Lord of the Flies by Goldman.
Yeah.
But what happens when you allow children to be in charge of themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's one point of view. The other point of view is to look at A Clockwork Orange.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which is the other side of what happens when children hide from their parents and guardians their real behavior, which is gang-like. Neither of these two views, although both coming from England, have very good outcomes. I don't think that it necessitates that those are going to be the outcomes of the students that go to this school. It sounds like a really nice place to play,
Yeah.
and playing is the work of young children.
Yeah.
Okay. They can go off to school and go to workshops and attend other schools like colleges.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as they do that, then they've broken the idea that testing isn't important because testing is important in every place else they would go outside of this place.
Mm-hmm.
It's progressive. And they're taking first of all, he accuses the parents of this time period, 1921, of being abusive.
Hmm.
That may be true and that may not be true. I don't think that abusive parents would send their children to Summerhill.
No.
Do you?
No.
Um, would your parents be very well educated and liberal to go to this school?
No. I
You
don't.
don't think so? Well, think about it. If who would let their children leave home and go to a place like this if they weren't somewhat educated? Well, anybody listening, you can make your own mind up on that.
Mm-hmm.
1921 was after World War One,
Mm-hmm.
and there were a lot of families that didn't have dads because they were lost in the war.
Hmm.
The same thing happened to England in World War II. At my generation, I would say, "Oh, I'm ancient, older than dirt," but the youth, people that were my age when they grew up, without parents, suffered emotionally and as far as being productive members of the society.
Hmm.
I will give you the example of The Who, a rock group
Yeah.
that came up with the rock opera Tommy.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay,
I remember that movie.
yeah, if you take a look at what they were putting out there and what happened to his dad and all the distraught that brought up, and we can look at Pink Floyd
The
in
Wall.
in the movie The Wall,
Yeah.
where his dad was killed in the war,
Yeah.
and he had a mom that tried to be both people.
And the guy in this movie, his name is Pink, and he's a drug
Pinky
addict.
Floyd, little Pinky Floyd,
Yeah, he's a drug addict.
definitely became one.
Yeah.
Nobody, I believe, unless it's fetal drug syndrome, comes out that way. These are not made up events. They actually happen to these people. Would they have been better off in a school like this? I can see advantages of some of this stuff to
Yeah.
keep the kids interested,
Yeah.
but I'm not particularly sure. I like the idea of making children responsible for their own behavior because they just don't have the brain power or the social skills to do that.
No.
Can they be taught?
Yes.
Yeah, they can be taught. But who's teaching? Older kids?
Possibly.
Well, that's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah.
You know, I think that this particular school needs to be looked at by anyone that is against the Common Core of testing for testing's purposes.
Yep. Excessive testing.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to be what drove this school. They had to take whatever that initial school core thing is.
Yeah.
It's like a general test that you would get a GED
Mm-hmm.
to get out of school here. I like the idea of strategy games, but I remember that, see, this is their own propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean it's good, doesn't mean it's bad. This is them tooting their own horn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They didn't say anything about were there any suicides?
No.
Not mentioned. Could be. Don't know. Not mentioned. I don't think that'd be the kind of thing I'd bring up in a propaganda
No.
spiel.
No.
Uh, were there any molestations?
No. Doesn't
That doesn't say.
doesn't
All
say.
things that can happen when you have children running themselves. They talk about ombudsman, right?
Yeah.
Well, you want to spell that so people can.
Yeah. Hold on. Trying to find that word. It's mentioned a couple of times.
Yeah, well, let's spell it.
Ombudsmen. I think that's how you spell it.
Okay, can we look that word up?
Okay.
See what it means?
Yeah. Ombudsman. An official appointed to investigate individuals' complaints against maladministration, especially that of public authorities.
Sounds like the police.
Hmm.
What does it sound like to you? Who elected them? So we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know whether they have some kind of merit system, or it's based on age or popularity.
An ombudsman or public advocate, according to Wikipedia,
Mm-hmm.
is usually appointed by the government or by parliament, but with a significant degree of independence, who is charged with representing the interests of the public by investigating and addressing complaints of maladministration or a violation of rights. In some countries, an inspector general, citizen advocate, or other official may have duties similar to those of a national ombudsman.
So they could be a community organizer.
Yeah.
We
Change
heard that.
agent.
Yeah, we heard that before. Big risk. Big
Mm-hmm.
risk. Do they have good intentions? I don't know. They certainly seem to have different intentions.
Yeah.
As your dad, would I have sent you to a school like this?
No.
No, I don't think you would have done well in a school like that. We have to remember what is the purpose of a school, because as a culture, we're going to have to look at that again.
Yeah.
We're going to have to look at what the heck are we training our kids to do? Are we training them to do something or not? Are you to get a career?
Yeah.
I mean, is your career going to be playing capture the flag? I mean, if you were a troubled youth and you had been not as socially adept at being young,
Yeah.
would this be better than reform school? Send a child into a place like this where they can be put in an environment of peers, where they have social pressure instead of.
No,
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
No, I'm not sure, but it doesn't seem like they were doing that.
Hmm.
So there are all kinds of things I think to look at. There are lots of things. We've only touched on a few things on this website. I've had a couple of the guys' books on Summerhill written by other educators there.
Yeah.
I have not read a book by somebody against it, critical of it, but I'm sure as you look on the websites that you'll be able to find that. I don't know about Marianne, but I'm really interested to hear what students or parents or people that didn't like school have to say about this.
Yeah.
Could it be improved? Could this be widened? Could it be developed? They say that this is all over the world now.
Yeah.
A world schooling
Yeah.
based on what? On a few ideas of allowing children to raise themselves.
Yeah.
Now, again, I've got to go back to the literature things of A Clockwork Orange and Lord of the Flies to see what children will do without adult supervision. Now,
Yeah.
they claim they have adult supervision there, but what did they do? I have no idea what their duties would be. Who picks the classes that they sign up for? Who prepares the curriculum? And in accordance with what? And then you don't have to go to class anyway, which I wish would have happened in the public school. I wish they would have had computer rooms where the kids could go on and look on the internet if they didn't want to be in class.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be in class, you're a disruptor or a
Yeah.
sleeper, which is if you snore like I do, you'd still be a disruptor. As an educator, both at the college and high school, middle school, elementary school level, um, it's very difficult to sit in a classroom and make one size classroom fit all because not everybody's going to fit all.
No, because they're all individuals and they're trying to get everybody to act and think and feel the same way.
Yeah, there's a guy called Noam Chomsky, Noam, and Chomsky spelled like a sentence. He's come up with 17 different kinds of IQ tests.
Mm-hmm.
We don't use any of that stuff here, in schools. We use a problem-solving, tool-based test
Yeah.
that locks a student into a perceived ability, whether that changes or not. Who decides when a mind kicks in and decides to become busy? Who decides that? Where do thoughts come from? Do you go to Thoughts R Us, or where do these things come from? How do you get people to think metaphorically? In elementary school, early kindergarten, they teach a lot of hands-on things.
Yeah.
And before you get there, when I went to school, tell you I'm old as dirt again, so don't yell at me here.
Mm-hmm.
They had picture books, and you looked at the picture book, and they taught you words and language through those things,
Mm-hmm.
and that was really good because it's metaphoric thinking.
Mm.
Now there was a guy named Dewey. You heard of the
John Dewey?
Dewey Decimal System?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, he killed education in America. If you look at the elementary school books in reading and writing and arithmetic before he got in control of the educational system, students were working at a much more sophisticated level. Now, what kind of level did they do under John Dewey? See, spot, run. Run, spot, run. Jump, spot, jump. Look at Jane. Jane smacked Billy right in the head. I mean, they dummied everything down to the point where we did not force anybody's mind to expand to a place where we would never return to old thinking.
Yeah.
Were lyrical books fun? Sure they are. Man, look at Dr. Seuss. Man, that's some fun
Yeah.
stuff there.
Yeah.
One fish, two fish, three fish, four fish. When you're done, well, what have you learned? What have you learned? You probably read those things over and over again until you memorize them. They're a lot of fun. But do they really have a critical thinking value?
No.
I'm not sure.
Mm-mm.
Allowing kids, and I mean younger children, to make their own books, okay, to make their own pictures,
Yeah.
to put together their own posters, the hands-on uh, ability learning. And not everybody's going to be able to do that,
No.
but those that can ought to be encouraged.
Yeah.
The idea that we have a one-size-fits-all school
Yeah.
is ridiculous. You're a lot closer to being back to school than I was, but what did you think about all this?
Crazy.
Well, did you get to do any of those things? Weren't you a musical learner when you were younger? Didn't you learn by children's songs?
Yeah.
You,
I took a chorus class and there's children's songs, and I remember in kindergarten there was like a song about the days of the week.
hmm hmm
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, you have a what I would call a musical high IQ, and you
Mm-hmm.
could learn more by music. As a matter of fact, your early grade school teachers, and you went to several different schools, said that if they had a curriculum based on music, you'd be Einstein. I remember when you were learning the alphabet.
Yeah.
This told me the kind of thinking that you have, that you can jump from different kinds of abstract thinking. We would go A, and then you would go B, we would go C, we would go D, we would go E, until we got to
I.
H,
H. Yeah.
and then we would go I, and you would say nose and point to your nose.
Yeah.
Um, not only was it funny, but I think it revealed a lot to your mother, who was a very highly educated woman in education also. Um, that there were abilities that you had that the schools were never going to be able to reach. They were never going to be able to train that kind of thinking. Up, down, left, right thinking is about all they have. Ability to layer material on top of each other and cross connect were missing.
Mm-hmm.
That math and language skills are taught separately by people that aren't really very good at either of them.
Mm-hmm.
Elementary school teachers, outside of art and music, you had the same teacher teaching you everything.
Yeah.
Very difficult. Takes a lot of training and preparation for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can understand that.
I have no idea, jumping back in time to Summerhill, what the education was of the people that worked on, I can't say faculty, I would have to say administration. What kind of backgrounds do they have? Were Are they now alumni of the school? You know, is it a self-perpetuating prophecy? I don't know. There were some attempts at Somerville in this country. I know the books I read, and a lot of this took place in New England, which is not surprising. But it takes a lot of courage for a parent to put their child into a program like this, or eliminating their own responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there are some big philosophical questions uh, brought up by what we read.
Yeah.
And until today, you had never even heard of them.
No.
But you have heard of rotten core.
Yep.
You've heard of the progressive mindset of indoctrinating and trying to modify behavior.
Yes, I've read about that in Ekman's book.
Okay. Isn't game playing a way of modifying behavior?
Yes. Sort of. Yes. I can see that.
It teaches social skills, but it seems to me that all of this can only be determined by the nature of the people involved in it.
Yeah.
It I don't know any. I'm just a happy, well-adjusted kid, and I'm just going to be nice about everything. I haven't met that kid.
No, I haven't met that kid either.
I haven't met that kid.
Everybody can't get along with everybody. And no two people are exactly the same.
Even identical twins are different.
Yeah.
Are you glad we looked into this?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting.
There's another school. This is English model. The other one is called Montessori. We're going to look at that later and put that in another podcast.
Yeah.
Your dumb dad figured that all the stuff that you're doing in education, you might want to take a look at these schools and see if they were precursors to the progressive idea of how they know better than anybody else what to do with your kids. I certainly see that philosophy here.
Yeah.
No matter how good their motives are, they're absolutely convinced they know better than you do.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they are convinced that they do, they let the kids be in charge. Is that like letting the lunatics run the asylum?
Yeah.
Now, I'll have to admit that I have not visited one of these schools. I have no first-hand experience on what it is to be an administrator there. I've not met any successful graduates or unsuccessful graduates. It's just when I was learning about education, this is one of the things that they made me look at.
Yeah.
You interested in reading any of the books put out by the school?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see if we can find some. You can find them at aidsbook.com under Summerhill. They're paperback, probably 250, 300 pages, if my recollects. Um, Not an arm and a leg, maybe a finger price. Yeah. Um, and then you can see for yourself. It's nice to look back and see what they were doing 80 years ago,
Yeah.
90 years ago,
Yeah.
and see how far education and our views of it
Yeah, have changed over the years.
and our ability. The last teaching that I did was at one of the high schools in the county in which we live. And after they realized what a good teacher I was, I can teach anything because I know how to teach. They gave me electives. They gave me 2 journalism classes on constructing a yearbook, which is photojournalism. They let me teach 2 film classes. One film is an art, where you teach people what the different kinds of movies were. The other one was how to make a film. I got to teach creative writing, which the whole purpose was to um, get you to look at different styles. So we did picture books, ladder books where words and pictures were equal. We did chapter books. We did mysteries. We did horror things. We did poetry. Um, my favorite thing for this class was get them to design a cereal box.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember you talking about that.
a cereal box is a storyboard for writing a play or making a movie or a multi-volume book. How to do it and not let the kids know they're doing it. And just to see the creativity of the kind of cereal they made up and what they put the artwork on the box. Uh, I got more participation from all the students in that and more excitement out of them than anything else that we would do. I also got to teach college prep,
Yeah.
math and language skills have been advanced. Uh, We would get a lot of kids accepted into college,
Hmm.
but less than 50% of them made it through the first term. They weren't prepared for what was coming, which takes me back to Summerhill is not being prepared for what they're going to meet in that school thing. That's how are they going to react? I wonder what their success rate and failure rate was. Probably higher than we had in public school. I would like to think so because I'm an optimist. Crazy things that I teach. Oh yes, of course, theater arts.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff on that. The only regular curriculum class that I taught in the public schools was what I call the ankle bracelet bunch.
Hmm.
First period, I got all the kids that were in so much trouble they had to wear ankle bracelets. And the idea of teaching them language was to teach them the way that they knew that they needed to have these skills to succeed. I don't think that someone that wants to be an air car needs to know Shakespeare. Just, you know, it's, rap, which is really modern day Gregorian chant. How can we make education be real to them
Yeah.
other than just a bunch of statistical nonsense and grading sequences? If you're going to teach somebody plotting
Yeah.
and graph making, well, go to your local Air National Guard base and bring a pilot in. Have him come in his flight suit and have him explain to you how he uses weather and geometry and fuel stuff and how all those things add up to a safe and successful flight mission. Then all the things that don't make any sense and are uninteresting but individually can be seen to lead up to an exciting career.
Hmm.
Um, I was not amazed at how many people changed their attitude towards education when they saw how well they were used in really popular careers. So, what else about your experience in school? Were you trained to do what you're doing now?
No.
Um, you want to talk about that? Or you're still learning what it is you're doing now? Huh?
Well, I remember that you've talked to me a couple of times that teachers in middle school said that I couldn't predict outcomes.
Yes. They kept you in special education for that reason.
Yeah.
but you wrote stories. So
Yeah.
you write a story and not predict an outcome.
Yeah.
And so once a student is placed in needing a special needs, they get paid for that, and they're never going to let the student know. Marianne never missed a spelling word,
No.
and they kept her in special education. So your mom, my wife, and I, we went to the counselors, and I pretty much pitched a fit that they had you in all these classes with disrupted students where you couldn't learn. I said, here's what we'll agree to. We'll let you put her in once-a-week counseling session so you can keep getting the money from it. But we want her out of that. We want her mainstream. And you double careered, didn't you? You did college prep and childcare
Yeah, I did child care development.
and college prep. You were like a double major. From special ed to that, I think was an opening of doors for success for you. You haven't touched stone on everything yet, but you are learning,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that you still talk to this old codger who seems to know something about everything, but not
Yeah.
everything about something. So what are we about going to tie this podcast up with recommending what? That people go to this website?
Yes.
Uh,
I'm going to for like the YouTube version, I'm going to screenshot a couple of this
mhm.
and screenshot the link for people to go to.
And then let them use their own ombudsmanship, right?
Yeah.
Investigative powers, and get back to us and see what they think.
Mhm.
There's got to be somebody out there that maybe even went to this school. You could
Yeah.
get a primary source. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Wow, that would be cool. We seem to be getting people to look at what we're talking about,
Yeah.
and there isn't anything that warms the cockles of an old man's heart than people are interested enough in their own lives to look beyond them.
Yeah. To learn from the past and improve, to actually improve, not just repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again.
Well, we're coming into a cultural revolution.
Mhm.
Whether it's peaceful or not depends on whether or not the people that are screwing up the educational system get out of the way.
Yeah.
But they gotta go.
Yeah, they gotta go.
They gotta go. You don't
Definitely.
imagine somebody teaching math that has the kind of math skills that could make them a living in the business world.
Mm.
No, you get dummies teaching dummies.
Yeah.
I mean, in early childhood, they 1 + 1 is 2, 1 + 2 is 3. Well, that's not true. 1 + 1 is a calculation, and a calculation is not the same thing as a stacking number. So 2 is a stacking number, and 1 + 1 is a calculation. So what they should have taught us, and what way I was taught, was 1 + 1 = 3 - 1. So where it was equal to another calculation.
Mhm.
And at that point, you're learning abstract math instead of meaningless adjectives, because all numbers are adjectives.
Mhm.
5. Malcolm came by the radio. What does that mean? All right, Marianne, let's discuss the nutritional value of the number 5. It's just an adjective. It has to be 5 something.
Yeah.
2 something. And it's the somethings that should decide what dialect of mathematics, since math is a language, that we're going to use. So as I say, we definitely need a revolution in the way we look at young people and the best way to educate them into the future. If we think the future is a place we ought to go.
Mhm.
That's a whole other argument. Well, are we done? I'm done.